Hey everyone, and welcome back to another What's for Dinner video. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Stephanie and I do food related content here on my channel. These videos are all about sharing some of the meals that I've made for my family, and I'm hoping that these will give you some new dinner ideas and inspiration. Now I have 3 new and delicious recipes to share with you today, so let's head on over to the kitchen and get started. The first meal I have for you this week is a very simple but delicious salsa chicken. For this one, you're going to need 4 boneless, skinless chicken breasts. You're going to need some taco seasoning, some cheddar cheese. I'm going to be using some sour cream for the topping, but that's completely optional. You're going to need 1.5 cups of salsa. I'll be using this entire jar. And then I'm also going to be using some green onions for topping as well. So I'm going to start off by spreading 1/2 cup of the salsa to the bottom of a 7 by 11 inch or a 2-quart baking dish. And then I'm going to add my chicken right on top. Now you're going to see that this recipe is super simple. What I love about this meal is that not only does it taste good, but you also don't need a whole lot of ingredients and it's super easy to make. You can also make this in the crock pot. You can do a freezer meal. You can change up the seasoning and use fajita seasoning instead of taco. You can also add some frozen vegetables in here if you want. It's just very versatile and I really like it. Now I'm just going to sprinkle the taco seasoning over my chicken, and then I'm going to spread the rest of the salsa on top. I'm now going to bake this in the oven at 375 for 30 to 40 minutes until my chicken is cooked through. Alright, so my chicken is cooked. You want a temperature of 165 degrees. You don't want to overcook it or else it will get tough. So now I'm going to sprinkle some of the cheese on top, and then I'm going to put it back in the oven for another 2 to 3 minutes, just long enough for the cheese to melt. So I'm just serving this with rice, and I've added some of the sauce on top. And then for the chicken, I like to serve this with sour cream and some green onions. This chicken comes out tender and juicy, and it's just really, really good. Let me know in the comments if you guys have made this before and how you like to serve yours. Now on to the next meal. This next meal is a Cajun shrimp and rice casserole. Here are the ingredients. You're going to need 1 pound of peeled and deveined shrimp, 3 cups of cooked rice, 1/4 cup of whipping cream or heavy cream, 1 can of fire roasted diced tomatoes, 2 tablespoons of Cajun seasoning, 1 tablespoon of hot sauce, but that's optional. If you don't like spicy food, you can just add less, or you can just leave it out completely. You're also going to need 1 chopped onion, 3 to 4 cloves of garlic minced, 1 bell pepper, and 4 to 5 celery stalks. So the first thing I'm doing is cutting up all of my vegetables. Now in a large skillet, I'm just going to saute my veggies until they are tender. Adding in the garlic, and I'm going to continue to cook this for about another minute until the garlic becomes fragrant. Now in a bowl, I'm going to mix together my fire roasted tomatoes with a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. To that, I'm adding 2 tablespoons of Cajun seasoning and 1 tablespoon of hot sauce. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of salt and pepper, not too much salt because the Cajun seasoning already has some in it. I'm now going to mix this well and I'm going to set it aside. In a large bowl, I'm adding my cooked veggies, my rice, and my shrimps. Now I'm going to pour my mixture on top. I'm going to mix this until well combined and then transfer it into a large casserole dish. So I have a 9x13 baking dish here that I've sprayed with cooking spray. And I'm just going to add in my mixture and spread it out as evenly as possible. Now I'm going to bake this in the oven at 375 for 25 to 30 minutes until the shrimp is completely cooked, and then we'll be ready to serve. Here is my bowl of Cajun shrimp and rice. I just served this with a little bit of parsley just to make it prettier for you guys. And this was super simple to throw together. It had amazing flavor and came out wonderful. This one is definitely a keeper. The next meal I'll be making is a very easy but delicious shepherd's pie. For this one, you will need 1.5 cup of beef broth, 4 tablespoons of ketchup. You're also going to need 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce, 1/2 cup of a chopped up onion, 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, and then you're also going to need some frozen mixed vegetables. We love cream of corn in our shepherd's pie. It's just the way I ate it growing up, and I think almost everyone I know uses cream of corn in their shepherd's pie. So that's what I'll be using, but you can go ahead and use frozen or even fresh vegetables if you want. You're also going to need 2 tablespoons of flour, some grated cheddar cheese, some mashed potatoes, and 1.5 to 2 pounds of ground beef. I'm just starting off by cutting up the potatoes. The recipe calls for 1.5 to 2 pounds of potatoes. I'm sure I have much more than that, but I just love lots of potatoes in my shepherd's pie. So I'm just going to fill this up with water, and while my potatoes are cooking, I'm going to get started on my ground beef mixture. Here I've heated up some oil in a large skillet, and I'm going to saute my onions with a little bit of salt and pepper just until they become translucent. Now I'm going to add in my garlic and cook this for about a minute until it becomes fragrant. Going to add in the ground beef. I'm going to break it apart, and then I'm going to season this again with some more salt and pepper. Once your ground beef is cooked and you've drained all the excess fat, you're going to add 2 tablespoons of flour, and you're going to let this cook for another minute just to remove some of the raw flour taste. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in my beef broth, and that's 1.5 cups. I'm adding 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce, and then I'll be adding 4 tablespoons of ketchup. Going to bring this to a boil and let it simmer for a few minutes until the gravy thickens up. For the mashed potatoes, I just kept it simple. I just mashed it with some butter, milk, and some salt and pepper, but you can just mash them whichever way you prefer. We all have our way of doing it. I like to use a hand mixer when mashing my potatoes. I find that they become more light and fluffy that way, but unfortunately for me, my hand mixer decided to break while I was doing this. It started to smell like something was burning, and then it just stopped. I mean, I've had it for over 10 years, so I guess it was bound to happen sooner or later. But yeah, I ended up doing half of the mashing with a hand mixer and then the other half with a handheld masher. So I didn't get quite the consistency that I normally go for, but that's okay, it was still really good. So this isn't a part of the recipe, but I'm just going to mix together some of the cheese with the potatoes just to give it some extra flavor. Now I'm going to add my meat mixture to the bottom of a 9x13 baking dish, and I'm just going to spread this as evenly as possible. And then this is where you're going to add in your vegetables. Like I said, I'm just using cream of corn because that's what we prefer, and I'm just going to spread that over the ground beef. Then you're going to add a layer of cheese, and then you're going to finish it off with the potatoes. I like to add some parsley on top just to give it a little bit of color. Now I'm going to pop this in the oven. I have it preheated to 350, and I'm going to cook this for 30 to 40 minutes until the center gets nice and hot and that the potatoes are lightly golden. So this is what it looks like after about 40 minutes. I like to serve this with a side of vegetables. This night I did broccoli, and it was really good. There are so many different recipes for shepherd's pie, and this is one of our favorites. It's simple and it tastes delicious. So that is it for today's video. Don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already, and click that notification bell so that you're notified when I post a new video. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. And as always, I will see you again in my next one. Bye guys.